member of the President's Advisory Council on Faith-Based and Neighborhood Partnerships, is joining the long list of radicals now serving in the Obama administration. His name is Harry Knox. He was appointed by the President this past March, and he has some very curious theological views. Take a look.
You put out a statement saying Pope Benedict XVI was, quote, hurting people in the name of Jesus because he did not support promoting the use of condoms as a means to control the spread of HIV. And I was wondering, do you still believe the Pope's position on condoms is hurting people in the name of Jesus?
I do.
All right, so even in light of Edward Green, a Harvard professor, researcher in AIDS prevention, said that the Pope was correct in that condom use aggravates HIV, the spread of it in Africa. So in light of that statement, do you still hold to that position?
He's simply incorrect in his assertion. All the other evidence of science shows otherwise.
Many Catholics, understandably, are outraged by Knox's comments, in particular his assertion that you just heard that the Pope is, quote, hurting people in the name of Jesus. Well, a coalition of Catholic leaders have signed an open letter to the President demanding he fire Knox. That letter reads in part, quote, the self-proclaimed anti-Catholic bigot you appointed to head up faith-based partnerships has reiterated his deep-seated prejudice against the Pope and the teachings of the Catholic Church. And your failure to remove him from office speaks volumes about how much you really value respect for diversity and religious differences. Joining me now with reaction are the founder and president of the Media Research Center, Brent Bozell, and founder of American Papist blog, Thomas Peters. They both signed the letter to the President. Thanks very much for joining us. Mr. Peters, hurting people in the name of Jesus. I wonder which organization has fed more poor people, the Catholic Church or the gay rights movement? I mean, give us some perspective on this comment here.
Well, it's an excellent point. I mean, the Catholic Church is one of the world's largest charities. And so for, Knox to say that the Pope is killing people in the name of Jesus is not only wrong, but it's outrageously wrong. And it's not the first time he said it either. So we're really kind of at the end of the rope on this one.
So, Brent Bozell, give us a little perspective on Mr. Knox. Is this an isolated case? Maybe he had a couple cocktails, lost control of himself, said something he didn't really mean? Or is there a history of this?
Yeah, I wish it was, Tucker. Then that's a good point. If somebody says something off the cuff and he wanted to retract it, and that's what the reporter was asking, do you want to retract this? This is a man who is, make it clear, he's an activist with the Human Rights Campaign. He's an activist homosexual who hates the Catholic Church. He's an anti-Catholic bigot. He has a long history of making these kind of comments. That's not the only thing this man has said. He has said the Catholic Church is guilty of behavior that is immoral and insulting to Jesus. So he's not only insulted the Holy Father, he's insulted the Catholic Church. He has said of the Catholic Church that it sends a message that violence and human rights abuses against lesbians and gays and bisexuals and transgenders people is acceptable. He has called the Knights of Columbus the foot soldiers in the discredited army of oppression.
I dug up these two quotes. Here they are. They don't read like bigotry to me. What we have here is a gay activist who is critical of socially conservative Catholic policies he feels are harmful or insensitive to gays. Rather than have a debate on the issue, as these conservatives pretend they seek, they're accusing Mr. Knox of being a bigot in this Fox News right-wing vacuum where there's no fear of contradiction. Watch how the real issue regarding condom use never gets vetted.
This man is an anti-Catholic bigot. What in the world is he doing sitting at the advisory council of a faith-based initiative on neighborhood partnerships?
Well, that's a great question. Thomas Peters, maybe you can answer that question. This doesn't really add up. I mean, here you have a president whose whole reason for being is uniting America, seeking out our commonalities, bringing us together, not dividing us. Has he really appointed this guy to a panel?
Well, Tucker, you make the exact point that I would make here. If you look at the mission of the Faith-Based Council, it's supposed to bring people of different faiths together for community service. Well, I can tell you, if you walk into, a Bible study and you point to someone and say, your leader is killing people in the name of Jesus, that's the worst thing in the world to do if you're trying to actually bring people together. And so this is a situation where, in this case, Obama should lead by example and kick people out of his administration who are engaging in exactly the sort of divisive, wrong language that he condemns other people for.
Well,
so
I
think
wonder,
it's an easy case.
Why not bring in the... Tucker, why not bring in the KKK too? They hate Catholics too. I mean, this man is an anti-Catholic bigot. Tell the president you don't have anti-Catholic, anti-Christian bigots on these councils. Take this man off.
But you both know that people get away with this. I mean, if you got up and attacked a Jewish leader or a Hindu leader, maybe even the leader of the Episcopal Church, of which I'm a member, you couldn't do that. I mean, people would say that's unacceptable. That violates the spirit of ecumenical discourse. You're a bigot. You go after the Pope.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. We're all right with that.
I mean, I've been blogging for 5 years on Catholic news, and I think one of the sad things that I've come to realize is that the last acceptable prejudice is anti-Catholicism. You're absolutely right, Tucker. If he had said something about this, for another religious leader, you would have seen this everywhere. But unfortunately, it seems the Obama administration just doesn't really care if they offend Catholics.
Which groups, gays or Catholics, really face more bigotry and prejudice in America? Are there more organizations that discriminate in hiring, benefits, and firing of Catholics or gays? Are there laws in America discriminating against Catholics? How about gays? Before you answer, think of the raging controversy over don't ask, don't tell in the military as a prime example. Catholics are not only accepted in the military, they are part of a specialized chaplain designator. Gays, well, just tell them to hide in the closet or give them the boot, regardless of their patriotism, devotion to duty, years of service and sacrifice, medals on their chest, or proven track record of talents. The most obvious point, completely ignored by this panel of hypocrites, is why Harry Knox isn't referred to as Reverend. Wouldn't President Obama appoint a minister to lead his advisory council on faith-based and neighborhood partnerships? The answer is simple. Mr. Knox was denied ordination because he's gay. So two can play this game of who's the greater victim of bigotry, but that's only deflection from the real issue, which gets little attention amid all of Fox News' demagoguery. Is condom use effective in fighting AIDS? More on that later.
Even after the reporter gave him a chance to say, have you looked at the other evidence here? Because there actually is a very large body of evidence supporting the Pope's claims. So not only is Knox being offensive, he's wrong.
Right, but they're not interested in debating. They're not interested in debating that. I think all people of goodwill want to reduce the spread of AIDS. My gosh, of course, every person does. And there's a legitimate debate about how to do that. And to dismiss people who disagree with you as bigots or crazy or acting in the service of Satan ends the conversation.
Did you catch Tucker saying they? It's an interesting slip indicating this panel's broad smears are about more than Harry Knox. The discussion here is a gross overreaction to this quote of Harry Knox's. He's opposed to the Pope's position on condom use in the fight to prevent the spread of AIDS. He is arguing the Pope is using his position as the religious leader of the Catholic Church to promote bad science. It's not too surprising this panel of conservatives, while they oddly never discuss the issue at hand, would defend the Pope since social conservatives trend toward singling out abstinence as the solution. But why the surprise that President Obama would appoint a man who supports the distribution of condoms to prevent AIDS, since this policy is consistent with CDC's research and position on the topic? Tucker, hypocrite to the bitter end, talks about personal attacks ending the conversation. However, one notable example he cites of calling an opponent a bigot doesn't come from Harry Knox or his supporters. It's the smear used by this unbalanced panel. If you read the quotes the conservatives find offensive, there's nothing Mr. Knox is saying about the Catholic Church being the servant of Satan, just the opposite. He's asking them to be good stewards for Christ.
The president, this president in particular, needs Catholic votes, and so will Democrats in the coming midterm elections. He can't get elected without them. This is a potentially very alienating appointment for him to make. Why is he doing it, and why is he not backing off it?
This man is intransigent. This administration is so hardened in its ideology, they won't back down, even when they're given an invitation to do so.
But it's so stupid. I mean, in the end, if you're Barack Obama, you don't need this. You got some kind of anti-Catholic nut?
You don't.
Just cut him loose. You guys are great.